What's up, everybody? Welcome to On the Record, the Fat Records fan podcast, where we're going album by album, side by side, and roughly chronologically through the whole dang catalog. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, joined by my dear, dear friend, Alex. How's it going?
It's a good. You've got like a good like NPR demeanor, with your intros.
Yeah, you want your voice to be pleasurable, dulcet tones.
Yeah, I agree. How are you on this lovely Sunday afternoon?
I mean, it's not that gray, so I feel pretty good, I guess.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, we actually
Also
had
not
a.
silent.
What's that?
It's also not silent.
We had a rare, very gray day in LA yesterday. Almost never happens. It's kind of nice every once in a while. It was like reminding me of the weather in London, which is very appropriate because we're going to talk about a British band today. What are we talking about, Ben?
Today's record is Snuff. Snuff said. Let's go through the liner notes. All right, guys. So, Snuff said is an abbreviation, abridged title might be a better way to put it. The full album title is Snuff said, but Gord Blimey, Gov stone me if he didn't throw a wobbler, cha 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 cha. You're going home in a cosmic ambience.
Any guesses as to what the fuck that even comes from, or what? I could not. Oh, hello, budget. Um,
Sounds like jazz. I don't know.
yeah, it's
Like slam poetry or
yeah,
something.
that's. I would be interested to know where that came from, but in my in looking around, I couldn't find any information online about where the hell that title came from.
Budget. Um, so this was originally released in November 1989 on Workers' Playtime Records, a label out of London, England. A little bit about Workers' Playtime. There's very little trace of it on the internet, but there's listed their releases out there, and it seems to be associated with Rough Trade. Is Workers' Playtime not a Billy Bragg label? That's a Billy Bragg album, or
Yeah,
not his
yeah,
own
it
label.
is. Yeah. Um, yeah, they probably just took the name from the Billy Bragg album. Not that I'm familiar with Billy Bragg, but uh, I think the only time I've ever listened to one of his albums was at Mermaid Avenue. Is that Billy Bragg?
Yeah, that was him and Wilco together.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
songs are
yeah,
really good
yeah,
too.
yeah. I remember
His
liking
ear
that one.
his early work though is absolutely excellent.
Really? Okay, I'll have to go back to it.
I mean, just go for the record that has a New England on it, and
Mm.
that'll, I think, be a good, that's probably a good starting point since I assume you're familiar with the Lifetime cover.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean,
Yeah,
there are
so
there
I
are
mean,
specific songs by Billy Bragg that I certainly recognize. It'd be hard not to, but I just wouldn't count myself among the fans necessarily. So
all right.
when did this get released in America?
So in the US, this was released August 20th, 1996. Falls right between my sister's birthdays. Um, though I guess any date falls in between your sister's birthdays.
You mean on the calendar?
Yeah. Um, all right. So the band lineup is Duncan Redmond. He is on vocals and drums. Very talented man to be able to do all that at once.
Certainly.
Laws Wong on guitar, Andy Crichton on bass, and it was recorded by Harvey Burrell. Sounds like a lead in a comedy name, Harvey Burrell, like a comedy of errors or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump into this. I the main thing I can say about the album as a whole is I really like the sound of the recording. Uh, the vocals almost sound like they were recorded one room over, which I like.
Mm,
And then everything's just a tad rough. It's got like it's got a sound to me that makes me think of like early Lemonheads, Husker Du, or Replacements.
yeah.
Similar, not exactly the same, but the recording sound itself sounds similar to those bands.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. It has that uh I don't know, it feels like a late 80s release to me when I listen to it. It definitely yeah, I can definitely agree there. Because I feel like on this record this is like this being Snuff said being the first LP that they did. I think they were still very much trying to figure out what kind of band they were going to be. So it does feel like it's kind of all over the place in some respects. Like it's not like it's so jarring that you're just like, "Wow, where did that come from?" But it is sort of like they do a few different styles is what I was
Yeah,
picking up on here. Um it sort of like vacillates between like 80s alt rock and punk, but it never really plants a flag in either genre as far as like, the dominant number of songs. It doesn't seem like to me anyway. Um, but I was definitely picking up on uh definitely Doughboys. There's definitely like some stuff that sounded like Leatherface and some
both of those. Yeah,
Husker Du as well. Like you said.
yeah,
I think that there are definitely elements of it. Um, so they haven't quite found their style that they settle on later on, but it's really solid. Like um, it feels that they're pulling from all this inspiration and sort of mashing it up, and they're doing a good job of that. But it doesn't quite have like its own identity yet.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What'd you think of the opener?
So words of wisdom. I don't know. Do you? I didn't. I actually didn't look this up. Did Fat Mike put any of these songs on any of the comps?
From this record, yes.
Which one?
Um,
Was it Words of Wisdom?
so no, maybe
Hmm.
Words of Wisdom was the one that I know for sure was on it was Keep the Beat.
Really?
That was on Life in the Fat.
Oh man. Yeah, I must have just it must not have done much of anything for me, so I just never really registered. Um,
It hit my brain the second I heard it. It's like I've heard
really?
this song a ton at some point,
Oh,
and
okay.
you
It's
know,
so weird because none of it I listened to it and I was like, I know I've heard at least one of these songs before, but it just didn't register. I must have
yeah,
just always skipped it or something.
uh, yeah, that's a cool song. I think that it was probably a good one to put on,
Hmm.
like kind of a good hook to bring people in.
Yeah, it's so
Um,
weird too because that was I do have that as one of my standout tracks. But it just never that it didn't seem very familiar to me at all. Um, but as far as the opener, Words of Wisdom, I think it's okay. Uh, I actually think that the second track somehow would have been a much better opening song. Um, is Words of Wisdom feels a little too slow to me. Um, it just feels like a weird choice. It doesn't really. It's not like it's a bad song. It just doesn't. For me. It didn't do anything special or super memorable. Um,
Somehow was a much better song. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't, I thought that Words of Wisdom was an alright opener, but I
yeah.
thought
It's
somehow was
okay.
a really good song.
Yeah,
Uh,
I really like
had
somehow. Like that was one of my highlights for sure.
what so what was your favorite lyric then?
For somehow.
Yeah,
Um, I think like the reason that I liked this, I liked this one for a whole bunch of different reasons. Um, but I think lyrically, it shows off what I think the band does the best on the record, and because we mentioned when we talked about however you say that record name, Dema must have been
Flibbity
bunk or whatever the fuck it
yeah, yeah,
is.
yeah.
How they are good at writing songs that tell a story when they do it. And I think that's where they really shine, and like that holds true. I think even as far back as this LP, um, because I like that. somehow they tell it's sort of like, to me it's like they set it they really set a scene. Um and it's just like sort of like a detailed vignette of being young and aimless and but kind of disinterested in moving forward. But he's like talking about just, I guess, the local pub. But I like this line: "It's only the cocaine camaraderie keeping the thugs from moving in for the kill." It's like, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, that was the term cocaine
Yeah, that
camaraderie
was good. It's a
was so good.
really good.
I I don't is that an actual saying?
I have no
Uh,
idea, but it's very
oh.
it's definitely effective. It tells the story quite well. Um, and this is one where I really felt that what has to be a Doughboys influence to it. It just sounds like one of the Doughboys songs.
See, I thought it kinda I was getting Leatherface vibes, but I could also see Doughboys from this.
Yeah. Um yeah, I mean, I think that just like the just I think just Leatherface has such a profound uh influence on this band in general.
Yeah.
I think the whole record kind of carries that Leatherface vibe, how Leatherface has that sort of like moody, like warning growl tone to it. It's just like it's kind of like it's like, oh, okay, this is not going to be friendly, is it? Um, I just think I think that style fits Leatherface perfectly because of Frankie Stubbs' vocals, and it doesn't for me. It doesn't quite work as well with Duncan's vocals. Um, and it's not like it's not like they're cribbing it. They're taking, intentionally making it sound exactly like Leatherface. They're still doing their own sort of spin on it. But I just think that Snuff is better when they're not trying to be Leatherface, but they can still come up with some really cool like riffs that sound close to Leatherface that are really cool. Um, but yeah, somehow is definitely this is one of my favorite songs on this album for sure.
Same here, yeah. Um, so then, after that was Now You Don't Remember. I didn't write more than 3 words on this. Those 3 words were "fun little rager."
I think, yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a cool song. Um and it's like this is, we're 3 songs in and suddenly we've got 3 different styles essentially. Cuz this is like another sort of change in style from those first 2. Um and this I think even this would have been maybe a better choice for the opening track as well, just because it's like it's just high energy, and I think it's usually for this type of music, doing a high energy track to start things off is usually better. But yeah, I mean, it's only a minute and a half long. It doesn't overstay its welcome, so it's solid. It's not bad at all.
Um, so I thought "Not Listening" was another really good song.
Yeah.
But the lyrics, I just looked at them again. They're very kind of simple, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the song is great. It seemed to be one of those things where it could be just about anyone. I wrote,
Yeah.
is this about a lover, a parent, or just a dumbass roommate? All three at
Yeah.
once.
Yeah. It's real simple because it's literally just about not listening to somebody continue to whine and throw a fit,
Yeah.
just being fed up with it. You know, Infinitely relatable. But it's not like a high concept thing.
No.
Um, but the song itself is very good. This was tacked on to the end of Snuff Said is the band's original EP, which was called the Not Listening EP. It might have had like a slightly longer title, um, but it is pulled from. It's like a re-recording of the song that's on there, and I think ultimately this is the better version. It's just better produced, so it sounds a little bit like a little bit better. But it's got a really good hook for the chorus, and the song doesn't wear out its welcome because it's only 2.5 minutes long.
Hmm.
Um, but what did you think about track 5? IC/HM Trout?
So I thought it was an interesting change of pace.
Mhm.
I didn't love it when I was listening to it, but I also thought that if I kept listening to it, I might grow to love it.
Mm.
Um, Also a song that I thought was very Leatherfacey and almost kinda had like a 80s post-hardcore vibe to it.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I liked some of the riffs that they use in this one, particularly in the chorus, but the rest of it just kind of feels like generic jamming out. Like it's not that it's bad; it just doesn't feel like a song for some reason. It almost feels like a demo that never came together. Um, it just doesn't really work for me too well, and I honestly this is one that I would have definitely just omitted completely, like just cut it. It doesn't really feel like it belongs here. Um, and then lyrically, I didn't. There's like a weird contrast between the verses and then the part where he says, "I see, I need," and he does it twice. He says, "I see, I need breakfast," and then later he says, "I see, I need 11s," and it just doesn't really fit with the rest of the verses. I don't really understand what's going on in the song. Um, but I do like that he mentions 11s because it's such like a specific British only term. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically just like an 11 a.m. Tea time snack that is like part of British culture that nobody ever seems to talk about. It's a 11s is like a confusing thing that I feel like never really got out of England.
Did you like Too Late?
I thought it's a solid song, and I thought that the backing vocals are used really well in this one.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good, fast, kind of melodic hardcore song. Uh, one of the things I took away from this was that it kinda reminds me a lot of Lifetime.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
Lifetime was recording
I was picking
at
up
this
on that
period of
too.
time,
For sure.
which then makes me wonder if, Snuff was, influence at all on them, which
Oh, I don't know. Hmm. That'd be interesting
seems
to
like it
know.
could have been.
Yeah, I could see it. Sure, because there definitely are moments where Snuff sounds like close to Lifetime. Um, I liked the lyrics on this one because it's basically it's about dating someone you'd rather put into the much dreaded friend zone. Um, but but the time to address it without hurting them is kind of past, which is like a tricky place to be in any kind of relationship. But I think the last line of this song says it all, where it says, "Ignoring questions and wondering why, I can't say I don't love you, and I just can't say I do." And that's a really tough place to be when you have a relationship with somebody because, like, I think that happens more frequently than you people would let you believe.
Yeah. Um, you know, I didn't really get much out of Another Girl.
Mm-mm.
I
No.
All I could really say was it was not bad,
Right.
um, but
Yeah.
I did not particularly like it too much.
Yeah. I agree. The intro definitely reminds me of Leatherface. Um, but the rest of the song, I feel like this was the one where it was really standing out to me. It felt like he was channeling Grant Hart from Husker Du with the way he was singing. Um, so not bad by any means, but it just wasn't. This one just didn't really do a whole lot for me. But what did you think of the next track, which is a cover? I Think We're Alone
Um,
Now by Tommy
yeah,
James and the Shondells. Are you familiar with Tommy James? I wasn't at all.
no, I've heard, I think another cover of it though.
Oh, really?
Um,
Hmm.
I think this was covered. So in my head, I can hear "I Think We're Alone Now" from um, the pop star Tiffany, but
Mm.
I know for sure that there's a documentary about her, about like people stalking her, like the
Whoa.
types of crazy uh, people that were stalking her.
Yikes.
Yeah, I think she did a cover of the song as well. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
and so. Yeah.
The song's pretty good. You know, it's catchy enough.
Yeah, it's an alright cover.
Yeah.
Um, Win Some, Lose Some. What'd you think?
I liked the guitar, just the sound of the guitar in this one. It's cool. And I do like the sort of call and response of win some, lose some. It's like a nice change of pace at this point in the album. Um, but overall, I just think the song it's decent. I thought that the song's way too long and it could have been tightened up. And I mean, it's like just over 3 minutes, and I feel like this would have been better if it was knocked down to about two. I just got kind of tired of it. What did you think?
Um, so, I mean, I thought it was a good, fast song. I mean, I liked that it was fast. That was about it.
Yeah. Uh,
Pass me
yeah.
pass me by.
Pass me
Could
by.
pass me by.
Yeah, I didn't even really write much for this. I just wrote that it's okay. It feels pretty generic, and it probably could have been cut, but it wasn't bad.
It was a breather track,
Yeah.
um, but it's not something I would ever choose to listen to.
Right. Yeah. I definitely agree.
Um, Keep the beat. So, we've already mentioned that this was on Life in the Fat Lane.
Somehow just don't
Um,
remember it. It's so confusing. I listened to that comp like all the time back in the day.
Maybe it was towards the end.
Yeah, maybe.
Um, so is the song I've got, like, a bunch of different ways that I thought you could interpret the song, uh, possibly about cigarettes,
Mm.
um, but I think that the smoking thing is meant to be more of, like, a metaphor for him being addicted to playing music,
Oh.
and it being about himself, like, in the drums specifically. He's the singer, and he's singing about his drumming.
Oh.
Keep on keeping that beat alive.
Okay. Yeah. Um, I didn't think about it from that side of things. I think I just assumed that it was about drug addiction. Um,
It also seemed like that too,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I guess you could read it. You could read it a number of ways, which is cool. Um,
Well, maybe one feeds into the other too. I imagine that drumming can possibly lead to a lot of, like, body pain.
Painkillers.
Yeah, yeah, and then in
Yeah.
turn, painkillers, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, respect for drummers, man. That's why bands always say that drummers are the hardest people to find, because of like how taxing it is on your body, and then also just like all the equipment and the reliability of somebody constantly being able to show up for band practice.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I just read it as like a drug addict who can't quit, and so they keep the beat alive because it's just sort of like how they go about their days. Um, I think this is one of my highlights from the record, which is why it still confuses me as to how I somehow just didn't recognize this song if it was on one of the comps. But um, I thought that this is much closer to the sound that Snuff has later on.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty good. It's got like a really good vocal hook, and I like the backing vocals they use in it. Um, and it doesn't hang around for too long. It's a little bit. It's like 2 hours and 2 hours, 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Uh, so it's a quick one.
So, I'm gonna guess that you maybe were not a fan of Night of the Lees?
I have no idea what the hell's going on with this track. It's completely superfluous and should not have been here.
It's like side 2 of the record's version of IC/HM Trout.
Yeah, I didn't. I was just kind of. It's only like a little bit over a minute long, but like I, I don't even know why it's here. So that is a definite miss from me.
I found it charming, but,
At least you got something out of it.
I also found the last track of the actual LP very charming, and that was a cover of Purple Haze, done as an early '80s hardcore song.
Well, yeah, well, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. I just didn't need it. I didn't need it at all. I just, I just felt like I was like, what the hell's going on here? I would just skip that one personally. It just wasn't doing anything for me.
All right, so now we're going to move into the EP. Little Get was, my view on it was it was all right, not great, but fine to tack on as a bonus track.
Sure.
Uh,
But I didn't really have a whole lot of notes on this one. Just like I just had a general question. It's like, is that a slide whistle they use at the beginning? It's like this really high pitched like whistle noise that they throw in there at the very beginning. That I was like, wait, what the hell is that?
I have a different is that something question coming up in a bit. Um,
um, yeah, this one like little gets it's fast and loose, and I kind of like it, even though it's sort of a mess. It's just it's an okay song.
uh, I had positive feelings towards What Kind of Love, but not. I mean, in the listening session, this was always getting towards the end, and a long time spent listening. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
it was good. I didn't
Yeah.
have much more to say.
I actually I liked this one. And this one is another song that sounds like it's like a nice blend of influences from Leatherface and Doughboys for me is what I was picking up on here. But I liked that one.
Um, so Dead and Buried. I thought this was fast and fun, but I was wondering, did you think that it sounded like Davey Havok was doing backing vocals on this?
Oh. Oh, I could see that. Yeah. Like just like the sound. Yeah. It definitely sort of had that feel to it. Um, but overall, this one it's okay. It kind of bored me a little bit.
That's enough, is what I was saying by the time I got to this song. There was some
Fair.
cool guitars, cool
Yeah.
sounding guitar stuff, but yeah, at this point, definitely too long. Um,
Yeah.
although they're bonus tracks, I guess, so can't blame them.
Right.
Uh,
Uh, yeah. It feels a bit different from some of the other tracks, and I kind of like that. But I noted that I like the interplay of the lead and backing vocals in the chorus. It's pretty cool. But yeah, ultimately, like I get it. Like at this tacking on this EP to the end of the LP, it's like if you're gonna listen to all of it like we did, you do kind of get to the end. You're like, all right, I'm kind of running out of steam here. I kind of need to change it up. But and that brings us to the last track, which it's it just didn't really work for me. It was fine, I guess, but
2 words, another song.
yeah,
That was that was
yeah,
how I felt at that point.
yeah.
Um,
It was just at this point, I'm just yeah. You get to the end of it, you're like, all right, I'm ready to check out.
alright. So, we're gonna take a break before we jump into the next record. Um, and this break was gonna be for me to tell a story to Alex. So Alex, at the National Gallery in London, um, some Zoomers decided that they were going to protest climate change by throwing soup all over a Van Gogh painting. The Van Gogh painting with sunflowers in it. They then then they super glued themselves to the wall after
It's
doing that.
the
And
fuck.
they were shouting about you people care more about this painting than you do about saving the earth, which, you know,
What
true. Uh, but
in what way? How
hey,
is that?
here's the thing with the whole thing. Um, the painting was not damaged at all because
Oh,
there was a
okay.
glass protector in front of it. And on top of that, these kids are like funded by the Getty Foundation.
What?
And so that's why I thought maybe it would be like this crazy, like inter promotional, like art war or something like that.
What the fuck? That is very weird.
Yeah. Very strange story.
Well, I'm glad that the painting wasn't damaged. I mean, honestly, when I went to the National Gallery and went into that room and saw, I didn't even know that that painting was there. When I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like that's like I'm a huge Van Gogh fan. Um, Spent a lot of time just standing in that room looking at those paintings. They were like they had some of his best ones. It's like a small collection. I think it's like 3 or 4 paintings. Just some of his most famous and really beautiful paintings. Um, that is an interesting tactic to attack a painting of all things. Well, I don't know why you would go and do that. There's so many other things you could say you care more about than climate change. You could throw soup on a celebrity and say you care more about climate change, this than climate change. Someone should
yeah.
go throw soup on Kanye West.
Uh, um, yeah. Man. He needs.
Somebody needs to splash some cold water on the man. He's
I
out
was
of
gonna
out of
say he
control.
needs to be involuntarily committed
Yeah,
and
it's
given
it's it's very
serious
sad. He
psychiatric help.
he needs help. The man's having a full on breakdown.
Yeah.
Some
And then
weird
there's
shit.
just lots of people just trying to take advantage of it too. It
Yes.
seems.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, yeah. I feel bad for the guy. He's really lost his grip on reality. It seems like.
People. Some people were like, "Oh, they shouldn't ban him from Twitter for what he said." You know, absolutely should have been banned for that. But furthermore, a man who's going through what he seems to be going through, the last thing he needs to be is on Twitter.
Oh yeah. If nothing else, it's making him even more crazy.
Yeah. All right. So
Well,
we're
hang on.
going.
Before we get into the next Snuff release, I do want to ask because this record, Flibbiddydibbiddydob, which again, I'm not sure. It's the Cockney. These guys, they just want to incorporate some sort of Cockney into all their album titles, which is just it's unique to say the least. But always makes me feel so goofy saying these album titles. Um, but because this record has a bunch of covers of jingles, I was curious. Do you have any favorite jingles?
Stanley Steamer, tough on dirt, gentle on carpet.
One of my personal favorites was the By Menon that you would hear at the very end of like the Speed Stick commercials. It's just like it's like 3 seconds long, but there's something about it that's very memorable. Um, and then oh, what was the other one that I had? Uh, where is it at? Oh, okay. I only bring this up because I want to talk about this, but I will say obviously the Folgers jingle is very memorable. Um, but the only reason that anytime I think about the Folgers jingle, I think about the commercial that they did. Probably, I don't remember when this was. It was probably like around 2010 or something like that. But it was the one that implied incest.
Oh, I haven't watched that in so long.
Oh my god, I still remember the first time I ever saw that commercial, and I was like, "Whoa, what is going on here?" There's like some weird sexual tension between this
How long
girl.
was that? How long was that up or on?
I mean, I feel like I saw it a whole bunch back when it was first aired, but I think it was Vice. Um, Years later, a Vice writer wanted to figure out what the deal was with this commercial specifically. So they like did some digging, and I'd have to find the article, but it is a really interesting like the writer really delved into the history of this commercial and how it got made and like how the actors feel about it in retrospect. Because if you've never seen this commercial, a it's like a Christmas commercial, and the setup is that Um, a girl opens the door on Christmas Day, and it's her brother who's in the military, and he came home for Christmas. And there's just like a real weird vibe going on where she's almost flirting with him, and she like puts a bow on him. She's like, "You're my present this year."
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's it's one of the weirdest commercials I think I've ever seen. Just like the vibe is very off. But yeah, that's what I think of when I think of the best part of waking up is ins.
Did you censor yourself there?
No.
Oh.
Oh, was that I whisper a little too low?
Yeah, I didn't. We didn't get the cest.
Oh.
It happened again.
Oh wow. I guess I can't whisper into the mic. That's
Maybe that's
unfortunate.
like maybe that's a Discord thing though.
Mm, maybe. I mean, this mic should pick up on everything.
Yes.
There,
Could
I
you
heard
hear
it.
that?
Yeah, I could hear
Okay.
that.
Oh man. Okay.
All right, let's
Snuff.
let's talk about Flibbiddydibbiddydob.
It's a covers album. It's fun. I don't really think we need to talk about it song by song either.
No, no, no. I mean, we can just do the quick hits here.
So yeah, there's a bunch of commercial jingles. Do they do a jingle for the drug ecstasy? Is that what the song ecstasy is?
Oh,
Is a
I have no
jingle
idea,
for
but that
X?
was one. That was probably my favorite song on the record. Um,
uh,
it's that is a fun song. It's it's really catchy, and I love the chorus where he says do ecstasy because it has like this really great like rhythm to it. Um, I don't know, it just works. This is like maybe my favorite song that we're gonna talk about as far as Snuff goes today, which might say a lot, but um, I don't. I also couldn't figure out like this is one of the only ones that didn't seem to be a cover of any kind. I don't know if they just came up with it as like an
yeah.
original. Um,
Although do ecstasy definitely makes it sound like it's about the drug.
oh yeah, definitely, yeah, for sure. Uh,
um, there's a bunch of covers of bands too. Beyond
mhm,
that,
yeah,
you have specials covered. Um, I associate that song with the decline of the British Empire and how racist a lot of the UK was
mhm,
after World War II. Mostly because in "I Can't Get You Out of My Head," the docu-series by Adam Curtis, he plays that song, but nothing ever changes,
mm,
over all the bits about the decline of the British Empire and how racist the UK is. Um,
seems fitting, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, I thought the Who cover was alright. After that, I felt like the covers all go downhill.
Yeah. Um, I did like the Who cover. And I've never been a fan of the Who. I was not familiar with the song otherwise. I didn't I like Snuff's version a lot more than the Who's version. So that was a good cover for me. I thought the specials one was good. Um, but the other two covers I thought should have been cut.
There were 3 more.
Were there three?
Yeah, there were the
We're
4
talking. Oh, that's
Tops.
right. Oh yeah, yeah. They did. Yeah, Simon and Garfunkel's "Hazy Shade of Winter," which I didn't. I thought it's fine. Um, I actually think the original is more interesting than what they did with the song. Um, but the covers that I didn't really like very much, I didn't like "Reach Out," which is a cover of the Four Tops, and you definitely know this song. Um, but it just yeah,
Adds nothing.
it's it's that song, but now it's punk. Okay, it just doesn't really even sound like the original song, other than the chorus. Um, and then I also far prefer like they covered "City Baby Attacked by Rats" by GBH, and I far prefer the GBH version.
Yeah.
This
I've
it just
actually
doesn't.
this led to me listening to more GBH.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to the GBH version. I was like, oh, this is so much better.
Um, Yeah, and then there's some jingles on it. Did you feel strongly about any of the jingles?
I did, and it was the
You
bran
did.
flakes, the Kellogg cereal commercial jingle. I just all I wrote was, "If you want some oi with your breakfast cereal." Um, it just has like that vibe to it. That's really, it's really goofy, but it's very entertaining, and it's 52 seconds long. It's a very low investment for something that's very fun. Um, and then I also really liked Do It Quick, which was is credited as a do it all DIY commercial. Um, I just thought it was so fascinating because the rhythm of the guitar reminds me so much of High Standard, like something that High Standard was doing on uh growing up, which is just so weird to even make that connection, but it definitely reminded me of it. Um, and then my other favorite part of that jingle is the soundbite, "You useless tosser." It's just kind of thrown in there, and I don't. I guess that's maybe in the commercial. I wouldn't know. I couldn't find the original
No
commercial.
way. That couldn't possibly. Do you
No,
know what tosser? Do you know what tosser is?
I forget. I remember.
It's a gay. It's like a
But
UK
yeah, but
slang
this is like,
slur for gay
but that was probably they probably would have been fine with saying that
in a
back in the
commercial. Even
80s. I don't know, man. Like the UK doesn't care if you say cunt. They say it
that's.
on
I
TV
mean,
shows and shit. I don't know. I
I,
mean, and
yeah, I guess so. They,
homophobia was rampant,
well, like
So,
homophobia was rampant in the states, but people wouldn't even talk about gay people on TV here.
yeah.
Especially in a commercial.
Yeah.
It's certainly not like
I don't know,
calling
man. It's a different
gay
world over there.
queer.
We think of ourselves, being so close to the British, but in some respects we are pretty far from them. So I don't know, but it is just so odd that they have that in there. But I just thought it was funny the first time. I was like, "What the fuck?" Um, what it did? Which jingles did you like?
I really had like no strong opinions on the jingles. I
Okay.
think maybe Rods and Mockers, as mostly just because the song title is a play on Mods and Rockers.
Hmm.
Uh,
But I don't
but
think that was a jingle, though. Was it a jingle?
maybe not. Maybe that was an original song.
I think it might have been an original. Just
Let's
because I
see.
didn't see any notes about it was that and Ecstasy were the only ones that didn't seem to have a direct reference attached to them.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like the type of album that I think should never be released. Um, or like should be digital only. We don't need to like use up a bunch of oil
I
to
agree. Yeah, this is a weird way
press
to.
this onto a physical
Yeah, I
copies.
agree. Um, and then the last thing I'll say about this album is the last track, "In Sickness and in Health," which is uh, a theme song from the TV series. Um, is that I listened to this and then I listened to the original. And as soon as I started listening to the original theme, I was like, "Oh my god, the band that should have actually covered this was the Mad Caddies because it sounds like something that uh, they would have written early on." Um, and yeah, I don't. You didn't listen to the original?
No, no, I
Yeah,
never tried
I
to.
mean, yeah, I don't blame you, but I was just curious. I was like, "Oh, how different is this from the actual song?" It's pretty different, but yeah, on the whole, this is a fun concept, and I actually think, if it was all jingles, it would have been really fun. Um, and I kind of wish somebody would do that.
Were
But
there two EPs before this was released?
were
Was
the
like there like a jingle EP and then a covers EP, and then they got put together on this?
oh, is that what this is? I didn't pick
I
up
don't
on that.
know.
Oh,
Maybe.
I guess it could be, but it just seemed like they just wanted to do something really, really strange. But I guess it's totally possible that it's a bunch of like odds and ends and leftovers that they just kind of threw together.
Yeah, no, I guess it was just meant to be a bunch of covers. Yeah,
Yeah.
but although they also put 2 vaguely original songs in with that as well.
It's a weird one, man. This is one of the weirdest releases that we've talked about.
Oh, man. Alright. Well, the next one is not gonna be that weird,
No.
though, well, there's an interesting connection I can point out, when we get to it, but,
Okay.
we're gonna do Before They Got Back. And this band, I actually don't know if this is Before They Got Fat, but it's Dillinger 4. And we're going to talk about This Shit Is Genius, which is a collection of assorted songs from the time period we've been talking about for the most part for past year, 1994 to 1997. This was actually released on October 31st, 1999 by No Idea Records. Uh, all right. Well, how do you feel about this record?
It's Dillinger 4, man. They were writing fucking excellent pop punk from the very beginning. Um yeah, it's this is I will say that this is some of their weaker work, but there's still a lot of good stuff here. Um I just think that all the material that comes after this is much better. And that says a lot because there are some really good songs here. Um but is that how you feel about it?
Yeah, yeah. So they definitely, yeah. I think that there are some really great songs on this.
Mhm.
There were some that I thought were not so great.
Yeah.
In particular, I think Patty songs get better on the LPs.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
No, I completely agree.
the Patty songs on this record kind of border on being Celtic punk, um,
Yes.
and I'm not a
Sally
fan of that.
Oh, how do you
Fuck,
say it?
fuck Sally McLean.
Yeah, that yeah, it's
It's
just
like a fucking Dropkick Murphy song
that's
on
exactly what I
a
thought.
Dillinger 4 record.
I just couldn't yeah, that is absolutely the one that I was like, I don't want to listen to
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
It
I
just doesn't
hated that song.
it's not great for me personally. But I could see how somebody that's into that type of stuff would really like it, but it's not great. Um I think yeah, Eric's songs are much better by comparison. And I do feel like I don't know, it's because I haven't listened that closely in a while, but it feels like they do a lot more of like trading vocals within the songs than they do at least on the first two LPs anyway. They feel more divided in terms of like how they tackle the vocals on
Oh, instead of together, yeah.
right, yeah, yeah. It's like these a lot of these songs have them singing together on these songs, which I think is cool. And they definitely do that on the albums, but it seems like there's more of a there's Patty songs and there's Eric songs uh, later on. But um, but man, let's talk about the really good songs here. One of my favorites being the first track, Shotgun Confessional. Um,
Love that song. Yeah.
it's so good. Um, and it's just man, like right out the gate, it's so Dillinger 4 in every respect because it starts, of course, with an obscure sound bite, which they of all the bands that do the let's put a sound bite in our songs, Dillinger 4 feels like they have the most unique ones, the weirdest choices. They like I don't even know where are they going to find these things. Like it just feels like did they just go to the record shop and like pull a bunch of like really old weird shit and just like oh yeah let's just pull this and put this in the song.
Is it Midwestern songs that has like well it's got the weird children singing for
I
parts
think
of it.
they used that on I think the first two albums.
And then they have the it's like a blues singer or something
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of one of the songs.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that part.
It's like it was he say it's like this is the big O. I was just
Yes,
sitting here
yes,
thinking
yeah.
about you. Yeah, thought I'd write a song about you. That's a fun little sound clip. Um, but uh, but yeah, Shotgun Confessional, fucking fantastic song. The hooks are amazing, and then I love the backing vocals that they add in. Um, yeah, it's just like front to back. This is like a fucking great song. Uh,
Yeah, one of the main things I wrote for this, which at the moment I can kind of picture in my ears, but I also couldn't tell you exactly what it sounds like. Is that love the interlude and the little riff that brings you back into the song towards the end.
mhm. Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Oh, the yeah, I can think of it now.
yeah.
Uh,
It's great. Like that's absolutely one of the best songs here. Um, what's another highlight for you?
so big highlight is probably my favorite off of the collection is I could have been a contender.
Oh, really? Okay.
I like that song a lot. Um, I as I was looking at my Dillinger 4 notes, I noticed that one of the songs I included has a similar naming convention as a lot of the Snuff does, which is "Bite the curb, bite the curb, bite the curb."
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
too
It's
many.
all
No,
all one
I took
word.
too many. Yeah, yeah. Thought the song title's great. It's also just a great song.
It is a great song. Um, and that's one of the I think one of the better examples of Eric and Patty trading lines that works really
Mhm.
well. Yeah, I that's definitely a highlight for me. Um, and some of my other, I think maybe my other song that I really love is "Holy Shit." It's really catchy. And then it has like that really it's like it's like Dillinger 4 is known for having the bass really high in the mix, like really like that
Mhm.
thumping bass. And it sounds even a little bit different here. But it's like it it's different in a good way. Um, but yeah, it's just like a even like a slightly different sound than you usually get from it. 'Cause it's like that intro, that really like heavy bass intro. Um, but yeah, it's just a really catchy song. And it's about organized religion being corrupt and greedy and full of shit, but it's at least it's done in a slightly different way than we've already heard lots of bands talk about this stuff. But it's Dillinger Ford doing their own version of it, and it's really good. And the other song that I really love from here is the last track, "Inquiring Minds Should Read a Book." Um, it's different in that this song is like so much heavier than a lot of their other material. It has like like more of an intensity than you usually hear them go for. It has like it's really like driving rhythm to it that sounds like to me almost reminded me of like Motorhead or something like that. But Eric's vocals are what you expect. They're not any different than that than what you usually hear. Um, but yeah, that's a great song, and that one's about calling out our culture for being so focused on the lives of other people, and how that distorts our own minds and how we view the world. And I think this is one where the last line of the song really uh, sums up American culture, um, especially these days with our political divisions. Like the last line is "We laugh as others lose." Pretty appropriate. Um, any other songs that really stand out?
So I was gonna say the only other song I thought was really good was the song "One Trick Pony" as well. There was another one
Yep.
that kind of.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Um, but yeah, I thought this is cool, and I look forward to talking about more of the Dillinger 4 records. Um,
Yeah, we are definitely at the very least we will cover uh Midwestern songs of the Americas. Um, at some point, we'll try to put that in there. Versus God might be my favorite Dillinger 4 release. It's like neck and neck with the first one. Um, so probably try to fit that in there too. I just feel like Dillinger 4, it's one of those bands where they know. I feel like they just kind of knew that they didn't need to keep making more music. As much as I would love to hear them do another album, I don't know that you really need it because the quality is so high. And I thought that Civil War was a really great album to kind of call it quits with.
Yeah,
It's
that
very
record's great.
very very good. I think the damn it, why is the name escaping me? The first one they did for Fat.
Situation is comedy.
Yeah, so Situation's Comedy is the weakest of the LPs, but it's still got some really great songs on it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
some very very good songs.
it really does. Yeah. Yeah. So when I say it's like one of the weakest of the LPs, it's still like better than a lot of stuff.
It's better than this collection.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, it's high quality, but it's just like those first two records are just untouchably good.
They really are.
And then yeah, Civil War is like a great kind of swan song record.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I, it's like never say never. I'm sure that like if Dillinger 4 was to somehow announce an album, which would blow me away at this point because Civil War was 2008. It's been a long time, and I don't expect them to ever do another album. But if they did, obviously I'll check it out, and it would probably be good. But I also just I'm kind of fine with where they left it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts, parting thoughts on these three records?
No, I think as far as like early releases go, I think that the Snuff material it shows the promise of the later releases. They're clearly very good musicians, especially from the very beginning. Um, but ultimately, the Snuff material that we covered today, it's not something that I ever need to like go back to necessarily. There might be a couple songs that I wish were on Spotify because none of the records that we talked about today are on the streaming
Yeah.
services.
I was wondering why I hadn't listened to some of these songs more.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I have to go to YouTube to watch this.
Right. And I was really surprised that This Shit Is Genius was not on Spotify at all.
Oh yeah, it was a YouTube heavy day.
It was. Um, but yeah, and I think that This Shit Is Genius, I don't think I ever owned a copy of it. I think it was one of those records that I always meant to buy, but just never did. But I own all the other Dillinger 4 records. Um, but it is a shame that I can't get some of the Dillinger 4 songs on, a streaming service because Shotgun Confessional is such a fucking great song.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, Dillinger 4, one of the greats.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. If you have any questions, comments, most importantly, corrections on anything we might have gotten wrong, please email us at ontherecord@gmail.com so we can set the record straight in a future episode. Also, just ask us stupid questions. I don't,
Please.
it doesn't have to be brilliant. Uh,
Yeah, I would love to do a reader mail at some point or listener mail, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
I'm so lonely. Oy vey. If you've been enjoying the podcast, consider liking and subscribing. It's going to make it easier for other people to find it. We're on most everything you could hope to find us on. So we're going to be back next week to talk about Swig and Utters, a juvenile product of the working class. Thanks for living. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for living.
Thanks for living, guys.